weekend, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson signed on for yet another movie, this time Shane Black's Doc Savage, which in and of itself is a pretty big freaking deal. But my initial reaction was, damn, how many movies does that make Dwayne Johnson signed on for now? So I decided to look it up, and the answer is, after Central Intelligence, which comes out in just a few weeks, 13 movies. So what we're going to do today is take a look at The Rock's upcoming slate of films, both the movies that are definitely coming out and those projects for which he's only signed on the dotted line. He's ambitious, to his credit, but we're also going to take a look as to how this all happened, because The Rock's been around for a while. Some could even say he was growing a little bit of moss in Hollywood as his career seemed a bit stuck. You know, he started out with The Scorpion King, then he started doing some family movies, even that kind of sputtered out, and then he found himself becoming franchise steroids, helping the G.I. Joe franchise, Fast and Furious. But still, he had problems at the box office when he was the star. He also kind of helped the Journey to the Center of the Earth franchise as well. But San Andreas is the reason that The Rock finds himself in his current position. San Andreas was a huge hit. And he was the star, and he really powered that movie to its box office heights, $474 million worldwide, which really kind of anointed him as a global superstar and also underlined his incredible power on social media. The guy has so many followers on every social media platform that you can think of. So his management team did their jobs and parlayed that success for San Andreas into pretty much all of these deals. And The Rock is working fast because I think he knows that he's not quite out of the woods yet. I don't think Central Intelligence is a guaranteed hit. Kevin Hart's hit a bit of a rough patch himself at the box office after a very nice start. And, you know, it comes out opposite Finding Dory. And The Rock, again, has had a couple of misfires over his career. Even recently, remember Hercules and how hot that was on social media and what a big deal everybody made about the trailer? I mean, so many views could be gotten by just talking about The Rock's Hercules, yet the movie failed to really materialize at the box office. Although I will say, to his credit, Dwayne Johnson does very well with his movies overseas. So like many movie stars today, that's where the studios can get a lot of bang for their buck in terms of, you know, salary to box office, and Dwayne Johnson definitely has become one of those talents. So we'll see. He has 13 movies now in place, so even if Central Intelligence flops, it might slow down some of the deals, but these other movies are all, he has a couple of movies fast approaching, which could always turn things around. Just for those of you who haven't heard me explain before, you always want to sign your next deal before your movie comes out, because you want to make the deal on the strength of the hype. You don't want to risk the other movie, the movie on the horizon not doing well. And then if it doesn't do well, you've already signed that deal, and then that movie can potentially make you look good again. But I think that just like he is franchise steroids, he's taken that advice and put it on steroids by signing for just so many pictures. All right, and I loved San Andreas, by the way. I thought San Andreas was a very, very good film, very well constructed, but I think that it wasn't all because of Dwayne Johnson. I think he definitely contributed to that movie's success, but I think that the director Brad Peyton, Carlton Cuse, who wrote it, you're going to hear their names later on in this video, because I think The Rock realizes that and wants to continue working with them. But I wouldn't just say San Andreas was successful because of The Rock. And I think every studio executive that has agreed to work with him should be mindful of that. So let's see. And you guys down below can write which of these movies you think will work, which you think you won't, and just if you think The Rock is making some good business deals. He's all over the place. These movies are, he doesn't really have a set strategy. He just wants to get deals done. All right, so after Central Intelligence, the next movie that he's going to be heard in is Moana. That's Disney's upcoming Polynesian animated film. They have a very strong investment in Hawaii, literally. They have their resort that they recently built there. Stitch has been a very big property for them. They have the Polynesian resort that they just recently redid at Walt Disney World. They could definitely work Moana into a number of their elements, empire-wide over at Disney. But having The Rock sign on, I think, is really good. He does come, as I just mentioned earlier, from a background in family films. Kids love The Rock, and him voicing the demigod Maui and singing, I think, will really be very popular popular. And also, he went to D23 last year and really went to the mat for this movie to promote it and used his social media accordingly. That's, again, has become one of his strong points as a talent. Now, he's always wanted to make a King Kamehameha movie, the very famous Hawaiian king. That movie has never come together for him. And of course, he has a Hawaiian background personally. So I think that Moana is a good way for him to scratch that itch and honor his heritage in that way. So expect Moana to be a very solid hit for him. Hopefully. We'll see. I don't think any of these, by the way, is a guaranteed hit. Then also he has Fast 8 coming out, and he also just recently debuted an exclusive first look at his character Hobbs in the movie via where else? His social media. I don't know if that was coordinated with Universal or not, but I think at this point Dwayne Johnson is so successful on social media. We'll talk about Baywatch in just a moment, that I guess that he can just promote things however he sees fit. So Fast 8, Hobbs, as you can see, looks very different. And there's a little bit of a power play here as well. On Instagram, where I think Dwayne Johnson is the most active, you can put quite a bunch of text to accompany your photo. And with Fast 8, he not only said that Hobbs has changed, he's darker, he's grittier, he's been pushed back to his roots, and that makes him very dangerous. He's also said, what is Hobbs' future with the franchise? Will it be a spin-off? Will he become more of a lead? Will he just leave the franchise? And I think that the combination of him being the one to give the first look at the character, and to say those things in the comments section on Instagram kind of shows that I think Dwayne Johnson is ready to pull a power play with that franchise. If they want to keep him, they have to do more to make him happy. Because look how many movies he's signed on for that we're covering right now. He doesn't need to make the Fast and Furious movies anymore. Or does he? If he has a string of flops, he'll be very happy, I'm sure, to do Fast 9. And Universal could take that gamble. But I think that right now, considering how strong he is with how many deals he has in place, I think he's saying, you know what, Universal, if you want my time, you're going to have to make a pitch for it. So I think that's very interesting. And we'll see how Hobbs comes across. He, as I said, he was a giant block of cheddar in Fast 7, Furious 7. So we'll see how that cheddar can get all dark and gritty, right? We'll see. Then speaking of social media, he has been extremely active on social media with Baywatch, which is a movie, by the way, which he is producing personally. So look for Baywatch to be, I think, a very good example of what The Rock can achieve when he's allowed to do whatever he wants. And, sometimes in the history of movies, that's not always something that reflects well on the talent that is let loose. Sometimes you want the studio suits and other talent to rein you in and help you out and contribute to the overall project. So Baywatch I think he'll to some degree, live or die by Baywatch. That's going to co-star Zac Efron, who is having a rough time at the box office as of late. He now has 2 underperformers in a row, Dirty Grandpa, and then also Neighbors 2, although I'm sure you could very easily find a number of Zac Efron movies that didn't do as well as one would have hoped. And then also that's being directed by Horrible Bosses and Identity Thief director Seth Gordon. And Alexandra Daddario from San Andreas will also be appearing in the film. But he's gotten a lot of attention for it on social media. I don't know if people really have a really positive or negative viewpoint of it yet, but they certainly are aware of its existence because, again, of that really fantastic online presence that The Rock was able to. Well, that's interesting. He was able to really provide a very strong online presence, but he was unable to define the property or I think to build any strong buzz for it. So that's really interesting. I think personally, from what I've seen of The Rock so far, I think he has undeniable charisma and personality, but I think that he's not quite the businessman that he thinks that he is. So I'll be interested to see whether or not his upcoming slate proves that. And those are the only movies, by the way, that are definitively coming out. Now, what else does he have on the horizon? Well, I divided them into groups. Before San Andreas and after San Andreas, right? So he had Shazam, where he's going to play Black Adam. He had to pick, there was some question as to whether he would be Shazam or Black Adam. He went with Black Adam. But that movie's very far down the line when it comes to the DCEU. But at least it's on his schedule. Then also he's supposed to make 2 more Journey movies with Brad Payton, at least on one of those, the San Andreas director, and who directed him in Journey 2. That movie did very well worldwide, so I can see why they want to make more of those. And then, of course, San Andreas 2. If a movie does so well like that, you want to make another one. And that's supposed to, we've discussed that. It's supposed to have a really cool global feel of the Ring of Fire in the Pacific with all the different earthquakes that happen in that region, or, a very large region, obviously, and that would bring in also the Asian box office, because some of those earthquakes would be taking place across the Pacific. So that's a pretty smart property. Now, what are the films that he's been able to put together post San Andreas? There's just been a flurry of headlines, and I'm sure there are more to come. So one, I tried to do them in the order that they happened. So the Jungle Cruise was a very big deal that he signed on for last year. Hot on the heels of Moana, obviously the Disney company feels that there is potentially a future in their relationship with Dwayne Johnson, and so they want him to star in their Jungle Cruise movie as they try to do more theme park films that hopefully will be as successful as Pirates of the Caribbean and not like Haunted Mansion. This is supposed to have a 1951, the African Queen kind of feel to it. And so it's going to be a period piece. But then, of course, it will star The Rock, who I think so far has proven to be a very modern actor. And it's the only talent signed on to that so far are the Focus and Crazy Stupid Love screenwriters. Then he made a big splash signing on for a remake of Big Trouble in Little China. Now, in a lot of these movies, not the Disney one, but for this one, Rampage, and a couple of these upcoming ones, Dwayne Johnson, again, is also producing. So we'll see how he handles that. Now, this is a remake of the 1986 Kurt Russell movie. A lot of people had mixed feelings about redoing this film, which The Rock has acknowledged. And his solution is to bring John Carpenter on board to be involved in some capacity, really just basically to give it his blessing. And that's interesting that Dwayne Johnson said that, because John Carpenter just recently came on board a new Halloween movie with Jason Blum to give his blessing there as an executive producer. So is John Carpenter in the blessing-giving business as long as his properties get back on the silver screen, or has he already picked the one that he's going to say okay and everything else not good? The Fog, The Thing. John Carpenter has a pretty good slate of movies himself, but nothing really working at the moment. So we'll see how that develops. Then also there's a Rampage movie, which is the classic arcade game, monsters versus the military, although in the game you're supposed to identify with the monster, although I would think that Dwayne Johnson would be part of the military. We'll see how they work that out. I would be a little bit wary of arcade adaptations after what happened with Pixels, but of course Dwayne Johnson is no Adam Sandler. Now, this movie is supposed to be directed by Brad Peyton, and it brings back Carlton Cuse, the screenwriter on San Andreas. So that's really kind of a San Andreas redux. So I think that to me seems like a pretty solid bet, because I think the creative team is so strong. Then next, Jumanji. Now, this was a deal that just recently came together. We've all known they wanted to remake Jumanji, and it's actually already on the release schedule. And Jake Kasdan has been signed to direct, but The Rock was only recently brought on as the star. It's a very, a lot of that's two remakes there, Big Trouble in Little China and Jumanji, and I think you always run the risk with a remake of making the fans feel like, look what happened to Ghostbusters, right? Nobody wants to find themselves in the middle of that. But interestingly, Jumanji is also circling Kevin Hart, so if it would be a Central Intelligence reteaming, maybe they want to see how Central Intelligence does if they want to have that team come back together. And also Jack Black might join the project, which I actually think is pretty good considering how good a job he did with Goosebumps. Not only did Jack Black do a good job in that film, but it performed well at the box office. So Jumanji's coming together, I think, in a very interesting way. Then Skyscraper. This is a deal that literally took place like last week, right before the Doc Savage deal. And this is where his Central Intelligence director is going to write and direct this movie, again called Skyscraper, which is being sold as Die Hard or The Towering Inferno in China. So a big skyscraper in China, something happens, Dwayne Johnson has to save the day. And this has been packaged by their talent agency, William Morris Endeavor, which represents both Johnson and Ross and Marshall Thurber. So so that deal's come together off of Central Intelligence, but just like San Andreas, all these deals came after. This is a situation where for Central Intelligence, they're trying to get these deals done first, which to me kind of signals, again, I don't know if Central Intelligence is going to be quite as big a hit as San Andreas. We'll see. And then finally, this Doc Savage deal has just come together. And that's a very big deal because of the change of ethnicity of this classic character. To some have said he is the inspiration for Superman, which I think is interesting because a while back I said that I thought if I were going to change the ethnicity of Superman, I would probably cast Dwayne Johnson. I think he'd make a great Superman. And I think Shane Black apparently agrees. So Doc Savage is finally being made into a movie. Shane Black, though, very famous screenwriter from Lethal Weapon, Long Kiss Goodnight, etc. But, he burned brightly and quickly, kind of became on the outs in Hollywood after movies like Last Action Hero and The Long Kiss Goodnight didn't deliver at the box office. And also only recently came back first with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and then Iron Man 3, and now recently The Nice Guys, and he's also signed on for the upcoming Predator, which he worked on as a script doctor unofficially back in the day with the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. But Shane Black, he is an acquired taste, and he also is not always, I think, a guaranteed hit. But he likes to do things a little outside the box, which I think is why he wants to cast Dwayne Johnson as Doc Savage. Now, this is a 1930s and 40s pulp fiction character. He is supposed to be like a Renaissance Superman. So he can do all sorts of things. He's very intelligent, very knowledgeable. He's like Reed Richards meets Superman, right? And he also has incredible strength and etc. And he's supposed to, he's been called by many the world's first superhero, and he's inspired not only Superman, but also Johnny Quest, and by Johnny Quest, therefore, the Venture Brothers. So to change that character, I think Dwayne Johnson could do a good job. I think that is I don't think that Doc Savage has a huge fan base that's going to get upset necessarily about the change of ethnicity, but we'll see. I think that just because the character is inspired a lot of other properties doesn't mean that they still have an audience themselves. Case in point, John Carter of Mars, which was actually a very good movie, but it failed to find an audience for a number of reasons. For instance, taking Mars out of the title of the movie. But anyway, that, I think, is actually one of the most interesting properties that he signed on to, but we'll see if he gets to that. That's kind of like the ultimate goal, but he has to, I think, several of these movies have to hit in order for Doc Savage to, move forward, I think, strongly. I don't know if they would fire Dwayne Johnson, but they might maybe backburner it or decide to put it on hold. But that's what Dwayne Johnson's upcoming slate looks like at the moment. I'm sure he'll add more movies any day now, although we'll see what happens with Central Intelligence. You might see some of these movies fall away if that movie doesn't connect at the same level or even close to San Andreas, which I think there is a genuine chance. But we'll see. All right, so what do you think of Dwayne Johnson's upcoming slate of movies? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think he's overtaxing himself? And which of these would you bet on and which would you not? All right, thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some other episodes right now.